Cool. And here we are again. Welcome, everybody, to the Countersyn podcast. This is episode 80. We've made it to 80. Welcome on in. My name is Matt Lacey. I am joined, as ever, by my co-hosts, Mr. Harry Sermon.
Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. And good night, wherever you are.
That's now your catchphrase.
It is. Yeah, I like it. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. And Jamie Joyner.
Evening, chaps. You doing okay?
Good man,
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I don't have a catchy little intro phrase. I'll have to coin my own.
Need it from another pop culture film.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good to be back, guys. It's been a little while since we sat down. I think we moved a week, didn't we? So we've moved stuff about, but I think we're both well. We've all of us are well. We've been gigging and rehearsing and doing all the teaching stuff as ever. I don't think we did double check before we press record. We have nothing new, have we, this week?
No.
We're saving our pennies for the
Yes.
big stuff. But I'm sure we'll have something to report soon. So we're going to get straight in to the title of the episode, Bad Gigs. We're going to talk about maybe relevant to some quite fairly new recent experiences. I don't know. But we're just going to talk about bad gigs when you are assessing pre-gig or when you're in the middle of a gig. Does it feel like it's going well? Does it feel like it's not going great? After a gig, how do you reflect on whether it is a good one, a bad one? What do you define as good or bad? And then what we do about it, really, and how we process it, all of that. We want to go out and enjoy what we play and enjoy what we do, and play music, really. But very often there's more to it than that because you're putting on a performance. And sometimes it doesn't always deliver for you the emotional relief, gratification, whatever you want to call it, of a gig that you absolutely smashed it, because we all have ones that are a little bit skewy, aren't they, and not always great. So we've talked about a few kind of talking points, but let's start with, and I'll ask either of you to kind of chip in. What's the worst gig that you've ever played that you remember, and what was it that made it bad? Who'd like to come around? Worst gig you've ever done. Now you're both going to say, never done a bad gig.
There is part of me that wants to say that, but I guess it really does depend on what you like. We're measuring bad as. If it's like, obviously I've had bad gigs where I felt I've played bad, but that's often by like, I don't know, my standard or by a sort of a musical standard, but potentially the gig was fine. There was still people on the dance floor. It all was successful. I still got paid and I had a good time. Like, arguably, like in my head, I'm a bit like, it feels like a bad gig to me because I haven't met my standard of like my expectation. Yeah. But also you have gigs where you can be, and I've played lots of these, I'm sure we all have, where everything sounds great, having a great time, and there's no one there to listen to it. You're kind of like all vibing out and it's sounding cool. But there's just, for whatever reason, maybe it's the venue, or maybe people are just like not in the same room, or like talking in terms of like function stuff in particular. They can, if you're just in background music as well, maybe in your context, Matt, like you're doing a lot of like jazz and dinners and stuff. I guess it can be kind of difficult to gauge what the response is to things sometimes, whether people are actually enjoying it or not, because you're kind of meant to be in the background and not. So I think in terms of worst gig, I probably had quite a few where I've just played badly. I think the worst things I would have done is just like start a song too early, or kind of come in the wrong place. Like, that would have been like my biggest mess up, I think. Notable one. But in terms of like things just like getting very stressful, we did gig, me and my function band did a gig recently, and it was at a tiny little sort of music venue in the Valleys, and we were told it was our first gig as a band, and we were told that we needed to generate our own ticket sales, and we were like, okay, great. Well, literally no one knows us, so how are we going to do that? And then they didn't say anything else about like what was at the venue, like what the backline was, like if there was a sound guy or not. I'd played there a long time ago and I couldn't quite remember. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm also behind a Perspex screen on the stage. And yeah, wasn't really sure, heard nothing from them. And then, yeah, I think literally about 3 days, we'd been sending emails like, give us some information sort of thing, like when do you want us on, and it's like basic stuff. And then I think 3 days before, they were like, oh, by the way, we need someone on the door, you need to provide someone on the door to like sell the tickets. And so, right, okay, so now we've got to like try and ask a mate or someone that can just come down for free and sit at the door and not be at the gig, but to sit outside and wait for people to come in, try and sell tickets. And then we kind of got there. We didn't like kick off or anything. Like we just were like, come on, let's just get the gig done. And I had actually invited, because it was like the advertising, because there was a little bit, was 14 plus if you came with a parent. So sort of 14 to 16 or whatever, if they had a parent with them, then they could come. And it was the sort of music that I was like, actually, I could invite some of my students to come along, and this would be really nice for them to sort of just see some live music. They haven't seen it that much, and they obviously get to kind of see me drumming. And as a drum teacher, I was like, that could be quite a cool experience for them. And so I invited 2 of my students, and they kind of all turned up and had their families with them, brought some friends, and they were kind of having a nice little evening. I bought some drinks, and it was just like, yeah, it was looking really lovely. And I really appreciated them coming down. And then like the guy on the door, like he's just basically like, oh yeah, like anyone under 16 has to go by 10 o'clock. And our set was starting at 9:30. And I was just like, what? Like that wasn't anywhere on no website, no posters, nothing. And I felt so bad. There was all mess ups with the sound of the tracks I was dealing with, but then I got told that, and I was like, I'm literally just like, they're all out here, like they'd been waiting since doors at about 7. And so they'd been sitting there for like 2 hours waiting. And then I was like, do I have to go and tell them that they're going to be able to see us play for like half an hour and then they've got to leave? And that's like half the room as well. Like they've brought like all these people with them. And then the bouncer, like, fortunately he was a bit like, oh yeah, it's all right. Like sort of, he wasn't very helpful, but he kind of turned a blind eye to it in the end, and you sort of let them stay. And like, I think once we started playing, like you could tell the vibes were good, and it was really like okay, but I was still like, that was almost, I had to go and just tell them, really sorry, you're gonna have to go. Fortunately it didn't get to that, and we did just play, and it was fine. But I haven't been like that, like stressed before a gig, like before. And heavy. That was, tracks also went wrong, and I had to like download them off a cloud and switch a device and all this sort of last second, and use their desk. Oh, and then afterwards they were like, oh, and you've got to pay the sound guy his fee, which we didn't know what it was. The sound guy fortunately was very good, but yeah, by the end of it all, we were left with very little, and we'd just not been told anything about what was expected. So yeah, that was a pretty stressful one. But all things considered, it still went ahead, and people still saw it, and we did our first gig as a band, and that was successful. So I'm trying to view that in a positive light. But yeah, that was pretty that is wild, pretty awful.
Right, Harry, beat that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of everything you don't want to go wrong.
Went wrong.
Nearly, yeah. Apart from drums breaking or the venue catching on fire. I guess that's next, isn't it? But jeez, yeah. I mean, I guess in a way it's slightly fortunate that nothing across all of us hopefully comes to mind of like, real, burned in our memories from however long ago that is, kind of still haunts us, I guess, or maybe Matt's looking at me and saying,
I've got one,
just so you wait.
Matt's
yeah.
ready.
Yeah. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a song in the set that just kind of went pretty badly, and I will kind of take part of the blame of just slightly under appreciating and maybe under preparing a little bit. It was Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Not an easy song.
It's not an easy tune.
Yeah, no. But it was one of those where I was like, we were kind of laughing and joking about it. I was like, yeah, I know it like really well because I generally like the song. I was like, I've never gigged it before. And then the bass player Zach was like, yeah, that's what blah, 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 blah told me. And it didn't go well with those guys either. And I was like, oh, well, like, I do know it. Like, I know the song. And everything I said, he was like, it's exactly what they said, mate. It's exactly what I said. And then we kind of got a bit more into it. And he was like, do you know the time signature changes? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what they are, but I could probably sing them to you. And he was like, that's what they said. And I was like, I think I'll stop. And then I kind of got a bit, I was like, I got you, Zach. I got you. It's going to be fine. And to be fair, it was fine until, when it like re-intros, he changes up the groove.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm going for it. No, it's not good. And then we just kind of settled back into verse 2. But luckily, they were all sort of facing the other way. It's different when it's a cold room. They were all in a bit of like a circle. It was sort of like fourth from last song, so they're in a circle and so on. It's different when they're sort of just staring at you, kind of like not enjoying themselves. Yeah. They were just facing the other way. So it's kind of like they probably didn't notice, but if you looked at us, we were all like deer in headlights sort of thing.
I hate to break it to you, Harry, but when people are facing away from you, they can still hear you.
They can still hear us, yeah. And I was the loudest thing in the room, so they can definitely still hear it. But I don't think they were paying. But that is why I have taken extra precaution on this week's First Dance. Which, by the way, what is your guesses? I want to know because I forgot to ask you guys. So I put in our group chat listeners a picture of my 14 by 6.5 Catalina snare that's black, and I put a black head on it that I've had. That's a clue to the album. Listeners, what do you think, guys? What do you think it is? To the album. Yeah.
I thought that. I thought it's nothing to do with the tuning of the drum. It's to do with the fact it's got a black head on it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know it. I can't. The only.
It's probably the least likely First Dance you would ever think of. I would say.
Wow.
Is it something quite heavy?
In moments, potentially.
Is it by Metallica?
It is by Metallica.
That's why I was going.
Is it Nothing Else Matters? Or something?
It is Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah. Wicked.
When you're like, it's kind of heavy in part. Like it's heavy, but the song's not that heavy.
I get to be Lars for a tune, and I cannot wait. It's going to be great.
You have to do it all.
Yeah, but again, like actually, I've known Nothing Else Matters for ages. How many times I've actually played it? Slightly different. So I was kind of been playing through it today and yesterday and so on.
Stuff in that one as well.
Yeah. Again, it's 6/8. I think pretty much all the way through, or 12/8, however you think. But he does do a couple of things that I think if you don't count, if you play what he's playing, I think you could definitely trip up on. Classic Lars. But I mean, it's not to derail the question, but that's so hard to play like him. I know everyone dumps on him so easily, but that is so hard to play like him. I'm going to just loosen off the clutch and exactly.
And like start pointing at the crowd and put
your
tongue out.
Get the headband on as well and the long hair, But anyway, that was a recent thing. I've had
so you can tell us about that on the next episode.
I'll tell you how it went. Wicked. I might get a little bit of footage as well, but I mean, I've had like banners fall on me on the stage, and sound issues of things not working, constant feedback, and this, that, and the other. But I think ultimately, I think there's some times where, for whatever reason, I think one of the worst situations I've had was on like a BG show where it was kind of like similar to you, Jay, just a multiple of things, just one after another. And not even for just me personally, but for other members. And then you could just tell there was like everyone's head was just in a different place. And it was just, the thing just kind of fell apart a little bit. There was sound issues, there was playback issues, there was structure of song issues. There was calling a song and someone then starting the wrong song, and just one thing after another, and literally ending here but not ending here, and actually now we're playing a completely different song, and it's just like that does actually, now that I speak about it, kind of stand out to me as a pretty bad experience, but not for necessarily any one reason's sort of fault. I think it's just one of those where the list piles up. Everyone's probably not in a good headspace. Everyone just wants to get their heads down and enjoy it and still try and perform, but you just can't battle through that.
I agree. Yeah.
But I'm going to say, like I said, nothing that's really kind of burned in my brain. But Matt maybe is going to hopefully flip the script on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to bring it up. I mean, I've had gigs where I've started playing a song with the bassist. Guitarist has come in. Me and the bassist look at each other, look at the guitarist. It's like, what? I'm like, you're playing the wrong song. And we started, and you came in after us, and you're playing the wrong song. You're like in a half empty, half full, mainly, 2/3 empty pub, and you're like, there's nowhere to hide. No, it's like
it's too late. Damage is done.
But the one etched in my memory, which I've got to be going back 20. I was just trying to do the maths on it, probably to late 25, 97. The reason it was a guy. I was in a band, a trio, kind of rocky blues trio, but we did some kind of alternative rock, and it was a little bit left field, not your standard stuff. But the guy I used to work with, and I'm going, and I was it must be pre 97, 98 maybe.
I was 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. Well, I was only 5.
Oh wow! Getting the bills in early.
Yeah. And we were asked to play by a mate of him at a football club awards, junior football awards do, and there was like a DJ on 2 bands on, and we were opening up. We set up to the left of the stage because the main band were on the stage to the left in this kind of sports hall, if you like, or kind of village hall, community centre type thing. We played our first set and people were kind of getting into it. Oh, great. Then we finished. And then I think the DJ played for a bit and then this other band came on. Now, this band were like... I better not say that actually, because I can't say that. But
this band,
I'm filtering as I go.
Link below.
Their songs were, shall we say, a little bit punk in their, heavy. Imagine like Chili Peppers, but with a kind of Rage Against the Machine edge, but quite antisocial and. Literally Rage Against the Machine, screw the society, and all that.
Nothing good about that. Nothing good about that.
And I remember because my girlfriend was there at the time, and her dad was a policeman, and they played a song which was basically anti-police, and she left. She walked. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm going to go to the loo. Fine. Anyway, this was a private event, and they got their own bar there and all the rest of it. And they got all the kids for the junior football team, and they let this guy in who was a fan of this band, but nothing to do with the event, nothing to do with the football club, nothing to do with not a parent event. He was just gone because he knew this band was playing. And then so he started dancing by himself at the front, like proper pogoing, moshing. Imagine one person in a mosh pit moshing, if you like. And he was getting really near to our equipment. And our bass player was stood by our gear because it was off to the left, remember? Not on the stage, off to the left. And this bass player got a 6-string bass, 2 Trace Elliott cabs, Trace Elliott head, good gear, expensive gear. And he's like, just be careful, mate, because you're getting a bit near the equipment. This guy turned round and headbutted our bass player.
Oh, my gosh. I thought I knew where that was going, but that is not where I thought it was going.
Yeah. So we're like, and then a couple of the guys for the football team, dads, saw that and threw him out.
Yeah.
Now to add to literal fuel to the fire, by this time, the village hall bar, whatever you want to call it, they drank the place dry by this point. So everyone who was at the place was going over and buying over the road to buy crates of beer from the pub across the road and bring them back. So the whole room was steaming. Okay, this guy got thrown out, and because it was a kids football thing, there was loads of kids in the car park playing football. This bloke started verbally abusing the kids. Right?
Oh no!
Yeah, and so one of the mums comes running in because when a kid comes running in crying its head off, this lad must have been, I don't know, 11, 12. All the dads piled out.
Scrap in the car park.
Yeah, scrap. And
that reminds me.
So
come back.
Let's go. Yeah. So let's fast forward 10 minutes. Some guys come in with blood coming out down his face. Ambulance has been called. Police have been called.
Must be there by that
point. Police are on the way.
But that band weren't that happy about it.
Well, they carried on playing Unaware, stopped, and we're like, the guy who ran our band, the three, says, we're not playing again, pack up. So we're like, right, the blue lights, sirens, the full hit. So we played our first 30 minutes set or whatever. We played 3.5 hours or something. So I packed all the gear up. So hang on, we can't get out because this is all happening right outside the front doors. So then I had to take all the kit through this like back door kitchen fire escape scenario and then round to the front, get my car without being, getting involved in it, reverse my car around the back, get all my stuff in the car and then leave before
unattended.
I was told you can't leave because you're a witness, blah, 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 and all, because it was chaos. There was a Black Maria turned up, police riot van, the full thing. Gosh. So anyway, that was probably the one that's etched in my mind because that's 30 years ago and I can still remember that.
That is crazy.
And the singer in that band on that day, he was also a drummer. He's now the drummer in a fairly well-known international band. And I'll leave it at that, listener. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's that bad gig.
The blood and headbutting reminded me of a Christmas party I did last year for a civil servant company that I can't remember the name of. They basically, I don't know how they found us, but we should not have done that gig because it was not the vibe. But it was we played to no one. They all spent all their time either at the bar down the other end or outside. But what we did see, similar to you, Matt, is basically all the guys having a scrap and a fight. One guy got bottled and had again, it's just he had a red head. And he was just stood outside there chilling as I was loading out. He's like, yeah, I'm fine, mate, I'm fine. And so on. They called the police. The police turned up with a riot van with one policeman in and an empty riot van because there was something happening in town. They were like, everyone's in town, so they're not going to bring everyone out to pill. We were like, okay, cool, fair enough. So yeah, we got an empty riot van and a guy bleeding his head out and played to no one. It was great. Yeah.
Sometimes you just have those sort of nights.
Yeah.
Now, I guarantee we'll get
nothing to do with the actual gig. It's just a thing that happened while a gig was meant to be taking place.
Yeah.
Can't remember what we sounded like, but I remember the guy's head bleeding.
So we'll move the conversation on, but I guarantee we'll get listeners DMing us with their work, and we'd love to hear your worst gig scenarios. So please DM us on Counter Podcast on Instagram.
Sadly, someone will probably top Matt's story with something even otherworldly.
Yeah. It might be someone from the other band on that night. They remember it pretty different. Yeah. So going back to your both points there, and I've talked about other people making mistakes or bad sound and stuff. When you've a night's not gone well, if you think about all the kind of gigs that for me a bad gig is like, even if I play well and the band are on it, but it's just not hitting the room and it's just not a vibe. And you're like, well, what can we do? Because we're playing what we play and we're playing it well, but the room just don't get it, or we're the wrong booking, to your point, Harry, but that's not our fault because we're doing all right. We've no technical issues. We've turned up, we're prepped, we've got everything going on, but it's just not happened. But how many times have you reflected on a gig and gone, that was my fault? How often, we talk about some stuff's out of your control, like monitors not working or sound not being great or can't hear the backing vocal, the click track's not great.
Yeah.
But what if, if on reflection, I remember the great Nick Mason quote from Pink Floyd: "If you make a mistake, just stare at the bass player and glare." And go like, what? Blame the bass player. But how many gigs in the past have actually been your fault where things have like not gone well as a percentage, or you don't have to give specifics of because we'll be here for 5 hours. I mean, every gig. But
what about whether people notice?
That's a good point.
Because I feel like you can, to a certain extent, you can like get away with it. Like, I don't know, like sometimes you could be like, oh man, I've really like messed that fill up. And you look around and like everyone's just vibing and everyone's having a great time. Literally no one cared. I'm the only one that noticed that. Or like my bass drum was a bit late on that downbeat or something. I don't know, like anything. And
sloppy fill.
Just a bit sloppy basically. And I think you can, most people just kind of can gloss over that pretty easy. I don't think I've done, to answer your question, Matt, I don't think I've done anything that is like during the gig has been super like significantly my fault, as in I've brought the whole thing to a stop or a train wreck or something like noticeable. I think I've maybe like, I don't know, I've done like really, I'm assuming people do this sort of thing all the time, but like, do you know, like in songs like, I don't know, Twist and Shout or Footloose, where those big builds that go on for like 7 or 8 bars or like ages. And if you're not counting,
overshoot that.
you can overshoot or stop a bit early.
And
like so someday it'll be like, oh, I thought we were in bar 6 of the build when we were in bar 5 or whatever. Or, like those sort of things has happened before, but that's probably the majority of my like quote unquote mistakes that would happen like on the gig. I think a bigger thing for me is when I forget gear. I think I always feel worse. Like at that point is when I feel like, okay, I've let the band down a little bit, especially if I can't provide an alternative. Fortunately, every one of those situations I have managed to figure something out. But like I've forgotten the 3 main things. One is a hi-hat clutch, and there was no way to get a hi-hat clutch. So I had to play the whole gig just with like two hi-hats, just like sizzling.
Last style.
So, which, it was fine. We were playing to a room full of, like, it was a nightclub basically. So it's just like a room full of drunk people. I'm sure they didn't care whether the hi-hats were tight or a little bit loose. My singer was like, I didn't even notice a difference. And I was like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but, so that I always keep a clutch. We've said this before, always keep a spare clutch.
Always have to.
Another one I did is I don't know how it happened, but I forgot the bottom half of my hi-hat stand. I had the top half. I can't remember why I didn't have the bit like from the middle section to the pedal. Like I just didn't have that. So I was fashioning like a weird little clamp off of the crash to have like X hat type thing. Fortunately, how great the drum community is, I sent around some texts and someone knew someone that lived like 20 minutes from the venue and were like, we need a hi-hat stand like now, can you drop it off? And this guy literally rocked up, took him 20 minutes to get there. He rocked up, it was literally as the bride and groom were walking onto the dance floor for their first dance.
Oh, amazing.
And like placed the hi-hat stand like that. And I was just like quickly getting it on and then like straight into the first dance. So that was a close call. But the worst one was when I first got my E-kit and I went to my first ever gig with the Roland and I forgot the cymbals. Just didn't have anything. Didn't have the hi-hat.
What is it with you and cymbals?
I just it was weird. I literally thought I had everything. I'd driven maybe an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes away. And then set it up and like literally I was like looking around like, anyone seen my cymbals? And then just not there. So I had to obviously program like my high tom to be a hi-hat and the rim of the floor tom was a crash or something. And I think I had like a little extra trigger which I made into like my ride or something like that. And
that is the good thing about E-kits. You can Because Rich did it, didn't he, recently?
Yeah, I was just about to say,
with the bass drum, which again is not really a problem, really, I guess, but it's just more the
you can get away with it. Is what I'm saying. You know, it's a nightmare, but like I remember we had this pub gig, and the next day was going to be a wedding, and we only recently started doing weddings, and it was like quite a high pressure one, and I remember, and both of them were e-kit gigs. And I remember forgetting my cymbals for the pub one and was like, thank goodness that wasn't like at the wedding, because that just felt like so horrible, like turning up at someone's wedding and then just like me playing the high tom and stuff. And fortunately, like the one at the pub like went really well. I had a very confused like guy just being like, he had like a double take, like he's getting well into it, and then like halfway through like a Michael Jackson song, he was just looking at me like something's not quite right. And he's like, "Where are your cymbals?" But yeah, like got away with it, and it was fine. But there've been the times where I've felt like in some way I've like let down the band a little bit because you know, like it's just like essentially being underprepared, I guess. But I guess when you're playing that many gigs, like at some point this sort of thing's going to happen, you know. And you're gonna forget something, especially like with the amount of things. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but like there are so many things to take and variations of gigs as well, for the different, you know, contexts and whatnot they end up playing. So very easy to just miss one little thing. Sometimes it's very important. So nothing huge, but that's probably been the closest it's been to like my fault, I would say.
Yeah. Harry, have you got anything?
Yeah, I kind of.
Harry go. No, not us. Nothing.
Yeah, no, mate.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, I mean, like, thankfully, touch wood, I haven't forgotten any pieces of equipment that have been, kind of like, hard to sort of adjust to. But I think the main thing I've definitely felt, as I mentioned with the sort of story about the Goo Goo Dolls song, is I've felt the sense of letdown from, you know, perhaps underestimating preparation, or generally a lack of preparation, or perhaps a miscommunication, or just kind of in that world really, where, you know, even with the Iris situation, I was still like, even on the drive back, I was like, I was really busy. They're like, I just wouldn't have had time to practice. And I was like, and then I kind of, you know, talking to myself, I was like, but I could have at least gone for it once. I should have just literally just sat and played for it once, you know, and that would have maybe just given me a heads up. I might not have played it really well or perfectly, but I would have had it under the hands
Makes
recently.
All the difference, I think.
And I think that makes all the difference, you know, because and then I said again to myself, I was like, I did it the week before that on a gig with loads of songs that I had actually played before, but I hadn't played for probably about 7 or 8 years. And I just literally went all through all of them once, and I was like, cool, done. At least I know then that I've done, you know.
I think they're the ones you got to watch that you haven't done them for years, and you're like, I know them.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. And, you know, the Goo Goo Dolls is that sort of one, isn't it? Where you're like, I listen to that all the time. Of course I know that.
It was just like little things like Love Shack and stuff like that, which is, I mean, great snare sound, terrible song, but like, you know, priorities.
That's a topic of the podcast in itself.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But, you know, just like that, I was like playing, this is easy, you know, there's 2 minutes left. I'm like, I might just stop now. And then there's a really long pause, you know, that is led by the snare hit. I'm like, well, thank God I, you know, went for that, you know. There's just little things, I think, like that, where I've definitely felt guilty, even like you said though, Jay, when they kind of turn around and they're like, it's a complete afterthought to them, you know. They're like, oh, it's what it is, like who cares, like, you know. And if anything, you're chatting and then you kind of leave the conversation, and then they come and give you a compliment about something like that, you know. So you're kind of like, okay, well, there's nothing here that, you know, is going to jeopardize me from maybe playing with them again, or kind of me not getting a gig and so on. But yeah, I think mainly for me, which I guess is a good thing, that hopefully maybe we're all kind of similar. We are kind of as prepared as possible. And, you know, sometimes there are those things. The gig I had a couple of weeks ago at the Comedian in Bath, no monitors. We had a rehearsal the week before, was feeling good about it, half an hour set. I was like, yeah, it's good. We're just going to turn up. And we all kind of said backstage, like, we're going to turn up and give it a bit of beans here, you know, and just kind of really go for it. And, you know, just kind of show up for half an hour. We were one from headline, so we were like, let's go for it. Set up, ready to go, really nice and efficient. Was waiting around, and then the got introed, and then we just kicked in, and we were like, oh, no monitors. There was about 8 along the front and a big drum wedge. None of them were turned on, and we were just like, all right, so it's all in here tonight, but you can't let that shine through, and we did try to, as we try to look out into the crowd and try and signal any of the sound crew, but just got to crack on, and I think then in my head I was thinking the same thing. If this goes wrong, this could probably be my fault here, so I need to be on it. And but
did you feel like in that situation, did you feel like the pressure then kind of felt a little more like, did you feel it as the drummer to be like, I'm now in control of the ship a little bit more so than, even though there was nothing that kind of suggested that, but like, did you just feel like the responsibility almost to be like, right, I'm taking the reins? Or
I definitely probably felt like I was I wanted to be even more intent with my eye contact. I kind of had like the bass player quite close to me, and the other guitar player was there was nothing kind of obstructing his view to kind of come over to me, but the other guitar player, the other side, wasn't going to get to me. So I kind of made sure that I could kind of lean back or lean in, and we
obvious.
could, and the singer was very mobile anyway. So, but even in like sort of quiet pauses, I was still kind of quite intent with keeping the hi-hat step going, where I probably normally wouldn't, because normally everyone's on ears as well and stuff like that, so it's not really a problem. But I definitely was like, I feel a bit more like I'm supporting everyone a little bit more in those moments.
You would hope in that situation that everyone else is on high alert as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And they're actually more intentional themselves. So everyone's looking out for each other then, rather than...
Exactly.
I mean, on a similar thing, I can't think of like any like default absolute bad gig 100% my fault. Because I think there's always those mistakes, and I can video a lot of my gigs, even if I don't put any content out off the back of it. It's nice to look through. Sometimes you're cringing when you watch it, but
I've got a video of Iris. I've not watched it back yet, but I've recorded it.
I think we should post it, Harry.
I'll send it to you. See what you think.
Yeah. I think it's like I've flubbed fills. Gone, and it's like when it's an iconic fill. Like I did post it on the stories actually. Like I don't know what song it was, and there's like a crash on 2 with the snare, hit the snare, miss the crash. And you're like, oh my God. And it feels like, because your brain's listening for the crash and it doesn't happen. And it's a chasm of silence. And you're like, oh damn. Tell you what I'll do. I'll just hit another crash on the end of 2 to make the noise. But then I watched it back, and the band I was playing for, oh Matt, great, we want you to can you do more gigs for this. And you're like, what about that thing in that one song where I didn't play a crash on 2? I don't care. But and when I watched it back, I'm like, I'm actually going to post this on the stories. Is like iconic drum fill coming up, flubbed it, and it's when
if it makes you feel any better, Questlove did that when he played with Phil Collins on the Tonight Show. He flubbed the fill.
Whoa, no.
Well, I say he flubbed. He had a crash in between, like, I guess the 8 and the 10, or the 8, 10 and 12.
Oh, did he catch it?
And he hit it, but they've muted it on the audio, but you can see it in because the shot's on him. You can see it, so they've managed to mute it and overdub it, but he hits the crash. And you can actually see him when, like, Jimmy comes back on and he's like, they're pointing to him, and he's just kind of like, he's not like... You can tell he's annoyed about it, but sorry, carry on. I'll link that in the group, because I think it's a really good video. It's probably about 10 years ago. But it's really good.
Maybe I should have done Questlove's gig and he should have done mine, because
I can't imagine the pressure though of playing that fill with Phil Collins. Like
you're just sat there for like 5 minutes waiting for it as well, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's your moment.
We should get him in and talk about this. I wonder how he feels. We
should get Questlove in one week and Phil Collins the next.
Yeah.
But nothing that's. But I think it's that thing where we have had songs fall to pieces, and I've gone, I don't know this as well as I thought, because now I can't rescue it for everyone. And now both like the guitarist and bass player look at me like, where are we going, Matt? And I'm like, and I've had to signal, we'll just go to this part. And it's like, as an emergency exit.
Yeah.
Then that's when you're like, I don't know this inside out like I thought I did.
Mm.
So that's the times where I've gone, okay, maybe it was my fault because I didn't keep us on track. But even if it wasn't, I couldn't do anything to help the situation. So that's the only time we've gone. But in the big scheme of things, people come up and say about the stuff they liked. You don't get anyone really say, shame you messed that one up. I never get that. I never had that. So it's
if you're visibly restarting a song, that's very different, isn't it? To like a little flubbed ending or a little kind of go around and all that sort of stuff.
I did have one guy shout out at a gig once when I was playing with a deck band, and we were playing "Message in a Bottle" by the Police, and we were playing it. We had one rehearsal with them, and in my head, I've got how I've ended it before, or how I've heard the Police end it live. But I remember them; they play it different at the end, and in the moment, I forgot, and I was on autopilot with the Police version. Obviously, not quite playing it just like Stuart. Disclaimer. But then they stopped. I carried on. And then I signalled to them to play the the whatever at the end. And a guy from the crowd shouted out, "That drummer saved your skin then." Because he thought that the band got it wrong and I got it right, even though I know it was the other way around. That drummer saved your life there, like this. And anyway,
that's so funny.
And I'm like, sorry lads.
I have had that similar. I have had that similar where a song is dying in front of me. I had it last year, and two guys that we've worked with in the band that I was playing at were watching, and I could see them just watching, just like this is. And I was just like, so I'm yelling. I mean, you can hear me. It's not a very big room, but I'm yelling, and I did it, and we finished, and the round of applause, and silence fell. And one of the guys goes, he called me out. He said something like, "Oh, well done, Harry. At least someone knows how to land the plane, Jesus," or something like that. It was like almost what he said. And there was a couple of, laughs from the crowd, as it were. And I thought it was funny. But that idea of landing the plane has kind of been in my head, like kind of for the last handful of months, and sort of on those gigs where, pressure's gotten to you a little bit, and maybe there's been the odd little thing here, and now you're kind of, oh God, how are we going to kind of rectify this? And I think it's just, just kind of say to myself sometimes, like, just land the plane, bring it home. Let's just kind of get everyone on the right page or whatever. Or even if it's a gig that you're having fun with and you're just enjoying yourself, and you come to the end of that last song and you're like, here we go. Let's just bring it home nice and smooth and round it off nicely, But having that mental space and being able to kind of think like that and not letting those things kind of get in your way. And I think we've all probably played with people that as soon as they have one or two things, their head's gone. Like, that's it. They are they are doomed for that gig, and it's mistake after mistake after mistake. Even when we were in Malaysia last year, we had it. We literally had it where Disco Inferno did the breakdown at the end. Singers introducing us, and then just decides to just come in with "That is hot," and we're like, okay, cool. We're cutting half a phrase here and so on. And there was a visible sort of turnaround and we're like, oh, what was wrong there? And they even said to us afterwards, she was like, you messed that up. I was like, I didn't mess that up. You just decided to come in. You weren't listening. And we had a whole back and forth about it. And, instances like that where people, they're gone, and they can't, it's hard to deal with as the drummer,
So on that then, in terms of either recovering from a mistake on the gig, or in terms of reflecting after a bad gig, whether it's lack of audience, technical issues, mistakes by yourself or band members, it just wasn't in your mind's eye what you thought it would be. How have you processed that after a gig? Some of them just kind of, I hesitate to use, but the mental health side of dealing with the aftermath of either. I mean, I've had a gig where a band has split up, packing down, as I've said in the past. So, so it's how have you dealt with that kind of, the gig wasn't what we thought it was going to be. It was this X, Y, and Z, or it was a big mistake on your part or someone else. And, how have you processed that? And,
Yeah, I think, I think we've all probably played with people that they go on,
have you dealt with that mental health kind of processing of that after the gig? Is it like, I mean, because for me, I mean, I've had some gigs where I've not played well, but the room's absolutely gone off, like, and they've had the time of their lives, and you come off like an absolute rock star because even though I played terrible, I missed the ending on that, and I nearly dropped a stick on this bit. Like, dropping sticks is not bad playing; it's just what happens. But it's like, that fill was rushed, but the crowd have gone nuts for every song you've played and had a wicked time. It's hard, that's a weird headspace because you didn't play great, the band was okay, but everyone had a mega time. And then we've played mega to 8 people, who have clapped politely and gone, that was great, but there's rooms dead, and it's kind of like, that's almost like a worse gig for me.
Okay, I think it's got to be constructive in a way, hasn't it? I don't think a lot of that stuff can kind of like linger or should be beaten up over. I think especially when you have a gig like you just said, Matt, where you feel like you played badly and you did this and you did that and so on. At the end of the day, the night was still good and everyone had fun. So you kind of like, I didn't play as good as I could have. That's something I could maybe kind of address or work on or whatever it is. But equally, I must have played pretty decently because everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
Kind of like case closed kind of thing, And I tend to not linger on those things too long. I think at the end of the day, like if any of that stuff that we think about after gigs and stuff on the drive back, if any of that actually had any real significant impact, we wouldn't be sat here talking about it now. You just wouldn't be, it wouldn't have that much of an impact. Everyone has good nights and bad nights, and I tend to like be, like I said, kind of critical and constructive, but also not shrug it off, but not let it kind of like ruin my night, if that makes sense. I mean, I still learn from it. I still haven't watched the video of Iris back, so maybe that's a little bit contradictory, but equally, I guess in a way I haven't let it kind of linger too long because I'm kind of taking that into this kind of gig that I've got this weekend and so on. So that's how I would answer that. I don't know about you guys.
How about you, Jay?
I think I tend to really want to try and nail down the exact problem that it was, so that in my head I could almost like justify why the gig was how it went. It might just be like, oh yeah, it was just the room. That's the reason it was a dead room, or the vocalist came in early like 3 times and that messed it up for us. Or maybe like if it's for me, it would be like, oh, I was really tired, or I haven't played in 2 weeks, so I just kind of felt rusty. That's normally, like, for me, when I judgment on myself, it's usually one of those two. I'm just a little bit rusty, like haven't played much. I'm just not feeling warmed up. I felt like that coming into the string of gigs that I had over May. I had a couple of weeks off, and the first one in May, I was like, just really felt it. Just felt slow. I felt heavy, and just everything was a little bit messy, and came away from the gig like, I hope that like it doesn't feel like this for the rest of like the month. But I think that once I was sort of, I'd done that gig, then I'd done like a rehearsal for a different thing. I'd done a bit of teaching, I'd done a bit of playing, and then got on another gig, and that went really well. I kind of felt like I found my stride again. So I think that like being able to sort of put it aside, focus on something else, can kind of bring back my like mojo a little bit sometimes. Whether that's just like giving a really fun lesson and you kind of get into flow state and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I love this instrument again, like that's huge for me. Or listening to another great album that you love, or then having another gig and that going really well, and you're like, oh, that's you feel the change, and so you're kind of like learning from whatever it was that went wrong on that gig. But as you said, Harry, not like holding on to that for too long, or letting that be like the kind of the main like story of like your you're playing. It's just it happened. Sometimes it's like on a bad day at work. Sometimes you're not feeling it. It doesn't go great, but unless it's like something really meaningful that I think like, oh no, I need to sort this out. Whatever it was, I was underprepared or whatever. Then I think there's not too much point lingering on it.
You can see when people are overthinking when they're playing. I think as well. You can hear it. I don't know about you guys, but like I can really hear when I'm like playing with other people, like if they're just not there in the headspace, or they're overthinking about everything that's going on, or they're just not, whatever it is. I've gotten to the point where I can really kind of hear that, and I can really hear when people aren't thinking, and it's just everyone is just there, they're just onto it, and I think it's trying not to get to that. Just trying to let that thing happen and then just open your ears wider and just kind of let it go. In the same way that, a studio recording, yes, you can kind of sit back and pick holes in it and so on. But in a live recording, it's a fleeting moment. It's gone. So there's no point lingering on it,
there is that balance, isn't it, between not letting it affect you, but as you quite rightly point out, don't ignore it. Because then you're not turning yourself on to where improvements can be made, learning from mistakes, whether that be any member of the band or whatever it might be, but also not letting it affect you so it's kind of rolling into the next gig, and be super. I mean, because I think I've played gigs where I've watched footage back and people have said to me after, "Oh mate, it was so great. You played with you." I've done a dep gig this weekend and. Unbeknownst to me, guitarist who was in the band, he had some mates in the crowd. It was an outdoor gig, and he had a couple of drummer mates watching. I didn't know there was drummers in the crowd, and they said, "Oh, how does he make it look so effortless?" And and you're like, but in my head, I was really struggling to find any solid pocket,
right?
And it just didn't feel solid. Watching it back, sounds great. Sounds like me. Sounds great. Sounds okay.
No, I think you're able to say it sounds great. I think you need to say that you're happy with your playing.
It sounds how I expected it to sound.
How you wanted it,
But in the moment, it didn't feel like I wanted it to feel. And
just a quick note on Pocket though. Sorry to interrupt you, Matt. Just a quick note on that because I think this is kind of related. I really like Nate Smith's definition of Pocket. And you saying that you couldn't find a pocket, I don't think that's your problem. I think that's a band problem.
Yeah. Okay.
As in you
it's
as the band
thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. That is something that you collective. Because I think Nate Smith's definition, is pocket is when every member of the band agrees on the time or agrees on the feel.
Yeah.
Which I think is spot on. So perhaps it was more that you were there and you were like, this is where I want it to be. And other people just weren't quite, they were a little bit ahead, they were a little bit behind or whatever. And I think, and as the drummer, that you are kind of battling that, in a way you were playing to them or they were trying to play to you, but there wasn't something maybe that was kind of connecting. I don't know. I've not obviously heard anything, but just from what you've just said, then
no, I think
is that the thing that But again, people listen back to that, and you kind of go, "Sounds great," But in the moment, the feeling of that pocket is completely different.
It was a dep gig where I'd not played with them before. I'd had rehearsal, but not been in a live environment with them. So I'm still adjusting to what they sound like and how they react to my 2 and 4. For example,
every song's different, isn't it? Every song is you're just trying to connect, isn't it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the next time you play with them, it will be like, okay, this is,
this is
here we are. Yeah, exactly.
We'll wrap up in a minute, guys. But so we've talked on it a little bit in terms of reflecting and stuff. And maybe I think I know the answers to Jay's already because it's probably going to be symbol related. But any mistake you've made in the past, which you've kind of, you're only ever going to make it once. You've made that mistake and you've put things in place for it to never happen again. It may not be, it may be forgetting your cymbals or your hi-hats or your hi-hat stand, Jay. Jay always carries a hi-hat in the car with him all the time.
I should just leave my drums in the car, really, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Break, if in need of hi-hat, break glass.
I would almost say, like, forgetting my cymbals was a big one. I actually I've gone maybe a little bit far in the other direction. I have a list which I will consult before every gig, just to, even if I think I've got everything, the amount of times I've gone, let me just look at the list. Literally, as I'm going out the door, I'm like, drum throne bass, or drum rug, or literally like, charge batteries. That's the killer for me. I had a gig where my pack died. Fortunately, a pub gig, and it was fine. But pack died mid-song. Like, click on big, it was like an ABBA track or something. I think it was a New Year's Eve gig actually. Packed room, ABBA, and literally the whole band just turned around and looked at me just like, why are you not playing in time? And I was just like it killed me that I couldn't do anything about it. And I am a bit like, someone save me, someone do something. But at the same time, I was like, I don't want that to happen again. So now I have I have like a reminder which will tell me to like charge my pack batteries like before every gig, so I get a fresh set in my pack.
I'll jump in quick on that, Harry, before you do, because mine's related actually. Because the one thing I've been meaning to do is get a spreadsheet, a list for all the different configurations: jazz gig, vintage blues gig, heavy blues gig,
breakables
gig,
only,
breakables, backline. Because I mean, Todd Zuckerman said at the masterclass I was at, he's got to a gig and gone. He's in the car going, something doesn't feel right. And he's realised he's driven all the way to the gig. And normally he had a bass drum on the passenger seat. And he's got all the way to the gig, got no bass drum. Yeah. He says, there was something I couldn't put my head. So he started putting.
Look to the left.
Yeah.
Or right.
For him, it would be look to the right. But he's like, I've got no kick. And he's managed to get, because he was so early, he was able to go home and get it. But that's where he
wouldn't have been a problem if he was double kicking, I guess.
Wow, no. But having a list, checklist. And the thing for me is I've had packs die on me. And I've had I've had to just play to the PA. With no click on it, but it's just I can't hear the vocalist, I've got no monitor feed at all.
Yeah.
So as a result, I got a 9-volt, because I've got the Behringer, I want to say P2?
P1.
It's what with the two XLR inputs. The pack.
Yeah, I think it's a P1.
Okay. Yeah, and I've got the 9-volt adapter for it, which plugs into a wall socket. So because I'm never going to be always near a wall socket, I was taking an extension lead with me as well. So that's the stuff. Take a power cable, because actually the gig I did the weekend, lo and behold, we need to run cable. I said, I've got an extension cable. They're like, blimey, the Depp drummer bought an extension lead.
I've had that a lot,
hero of the hour. So
the thing with packs that annoys me is that some of them don't go red when they're on low battery. Yeah, and I don't think I've ever gotten mine low enough to know if mine goes red. Because I keep charging it and I don't want to like risk it. So I have no idea if it'll warn me.
9-volt one. Use them with 9-volt batteries.
No, they're little batteries. Like AAA batteries.
Mine's a 9-volt, and literally I wouldn't trust it past 2 gigs.
Yeah,
and like
really?
£6 a throw. You're like, I dare not put a new one in. You can't switch your battery out halfway through a gig.
See, that's really interesting, because I've only changed my batteries on mine twice, and I've had it for 2 years.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and the only reason I changed my batteries because I was in Malaysia and we were sound checking for the first show, and I was like, never changed these batteries. Probably should do that. So I changed them, and I've still got the same ones.
Right.
9
so I don't. No, just the AAAs on the P2.
Two AAAs.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow. I don't know my limit, but I'll do like a rehearsal and a gig, and then I'm like, right, charging up.
Really? Yeah. No. I mean, I turn it off in between sets.
In between gigs. Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I was going wrong. Yeah.
But I mean, also equally like maybe just quite lucky. I mean, watch it die on the weekend. You never know.
Nice and 9-volt, and maybe the power consumption is just greater.
Maybe, two feeds.
I think if I was playing to less tracks, I wouldn't mind. I think when it's track heavy, I get a little bit like I just don't want it to risk it. Whereas if I was playing like through monitors,
just feeds,
stuff, I could keep going. But But anyway,
I also kind of keep everything. It's interesting you guys are saying about like different. I basically keep everything like in the same place. Like my bag with like my stick bag, my accessories bag, usually a bass drum mic and a block of tape and a phone charger and deodorant and a practice pad. It's just down there. Like I just keep everything in that bag, and I might add like, oh, I'm doing BB, so I'll bring home my own mic, or whatever. I'll chuck some spare pair of clothes in. But like I keep everything basically together. And the only thing I need to change out is like if I'm maybe bringing mics, and I'll bring some XLRs or whatever.
Yeah.
And like I think I said before, like I don't fold down the hi-hat stand just because it doesn't fit in my bag, but this is just everything's there. Same with the stool. So I tend not to fold down. I probably do maybe an extra trip or so, but it means my loading's pretty concise. So I do find that, everything is like, if I haven't got something, then like I haven't almost like picked up like my whole cymbal bag, or I haven't picked up my whole backpack. So it'd be, touch wood, it would be painstakingly obvious if I have maybe forgotten something. But that's just kind of how I've kind of always done it. So maybe I probably could maybe put more stuff away in this room behind me, but for ease of gigs,
we all have our methods, don't we? We're happy with.
I think it's really interesting. Yeah, for me, the main thing is I would never do again is I've said before, because I've nearly had to do kit shed gigs with no drum rug. Is I won't play with that drum rug. It's just not worth it. So I always bring my rug. I will be that guy that if it's a 15-minute changeover and there's no rug, I will move all of the kit and put down my rug, even under the bass drum, because what can you do? I say and the guitar players, I've had before, and they're like, really? Is it? I'm like, you try and play your guitar with your strap constantly moving further and further away from you. There's nothing you can do about it. But you won't do it, will you? Or a microphone getting further away. It's just one of those things that you can't do it. Like you just cannot. I can take a
worse feeling the whole gig, just feeling a little bit off and just like waiting for your next point where you can reach down and pull it back towards you again. Like, it's horrible.
I will play with a moving floor tom, or I'll not have loads of cymbals or rack toms or whatever it is and stuff. But if that bass drum isn't solid and that hi-hat stand isn't at least pretty firm, I'm off. I can take with the snare stand that maybe wriggles a little bit, because you can kind of push that with your knee a little bit. But that gig the other week at the Comedia, there was no drum rug there. Luckily, they had sorted something by sort of band 2, but I had the 5000 pedal that had the rubber grip foot pedal, and that made it absolutely solid. I was like, cool, So that definitely helped, and there was other things like that as well. But that for me is talk about non-negotiables. The drum rug is I played Bristol Museum when I was younger, which is a marble floor.
Oh, no.
And that was the first. I was probably like one of the earliest gigs I'd done taking my gear, and I didn't have a drum rug, so the bass player just sat. The bass player just sat on the bass drum the whole time. It was. So I was like, I'm never doing that again.
They do have a uses, those bass players, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Couldn't tell you what he sounded like, but he came in handy.
Well, we'll wrap up there, but we would love to hear everyone's bad gig stories or horror stories from a gig. And we've had some blood spilt tonight in stories, so maybe people can. That's the bar you've got to reach.
Yeah.
But if people want to drop us a line, DM us either individually to our accounts or to the Count Us In Podcast account at Count Us In Podcast on Instagram. We want to know the things you've made mistakes in will never do again. So what things have you learned from, but also what bad gig experiences have you had? And why they etched on your memory forever. We will. This episode is out today on the 5th of June. I'm saying,
that's the one.
On the 5th, and it will be out the following week on the 13th. Sorry, the 12th. On YouTube. So please head over to YouTube and have a look at what we look like and all the
see our beautiful faces.
See our beautiful faces over there. Please, if you're listening to this episode, share it with someone who you think will appreciate it, or maybe someone who was on the same bad gig that you were on that you're going to DM us about. Give us a like and subscribe and share an episode, because it helps us get to a bigger audience. We really appreciate that. And if you'd like, for entertainment value alone, if we've entertained you to the value of £3, then please buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Count Us In Podcast. Thanks, gents. That was a good one.
Nice one, guys.
Time. and we will see you again soon on the next one.
See you on the next one.
Therapy session over. Nice one.